So recently, there's been some discussion on the accuracy of the Kemper Profiler, mostly kicked off by the comparison that Rabia Massad did between the Kemper and the NeuralDSP Quad Cortex. And I thought myself in that video that the QC sounded closer to the real amp. I've mentioned on various forums, various social media over the years that the Kemper never quite feels right to me when it comes to the palm muting or the frequency response of the palm muting. So I wanted to kind of maybe demonstrate that here. So I've got my Diezel VH4 over there, channel 3. It's a good kind of rock tone, right? And that is hitting a Behringer Ultra G DI box up at the top, so that I can get a feed of the amp DI, take that to my audio interface, but then the link output of that DI box, which doesn't go through any circuitry, goes straight to the Egnator cab down here that's got a 421 and a 57 microphone on the bottom speakers. So we're going to do a profile, and then we're going to talk a bit more. Start profiling. Okay, so we have a profile. It's currently not refined. But what I'm going to do is, in Reaper here, I've got this DI. I'm going to feed that DI into the Kemper, and I'm going to reamp. So if I actually grab my guitar cable here and I plug it into the DI box that I set up, right? So now this DI on track 1 will be going to the Kemper. And if I hit reference amp on the Kemper currently, we don't hear anything because I just bypassed the amp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reamp that DI through the Kemper profile that we just did. Not refined currently. Okay, that sounds pretty decent to me. We don't really actually need these tracks. These I had in there for testing before. So I'm just going to drag this down to another track, right? And I'm going to say not refined, right? And I'm going to mute that. And then the guitar DI is still going to the Kemper, but I'm going to set the Kemper to reference amp, and I'm going to reactivate the amp and reamp it again, which means that we'll have one track of the Kemper and one track of the reference amp. like that riff. It's one of my favorite riffs. So, what do we have? We have a Kemper track and we have a real reference. So, reference, and that was the 421 microphone, right? So, let's have a quick listen. See what we get. Real Kemper. Okay, I'm hearing some differences. I'm just going to flick back between those two takes, okay? So the Kemper first, then the reference, and I'll just flick back, A-B them. So actually, what I'm hearing is that the real amp on those open chords the real amp 100% on those open chords is kind of thinner and not as loud, and I could probably even out the levels, and we'll do that in a minute, but it's also not as punchy as the Kemper is. Let's listen to that palm mute section again. The real amp is fuzzier and has kind of a fuller low end. A more solid idea of the fundamental notes of the guitar. And you can really feel the cab in there, even though it's a mic'd up tone. But I don't think the Kemper sounds bad, actually. I really don't. So let's refine. The amp's live. So Kemper are not exactly that instructive when it comes to what you need to play when refining. So I'm going to play some chords. That's what they say in the manual. I'm also going to do some palm mutes. And I'm also going to do some sort of, I don't know, like, well, I'm in drop C. So I'll do some kind of drop C-ish stuff as well. So, we've just refined. Now, we can reamp that DI again. Right, let's record. Okay, I quite like the tone of that. I'm just going to immediately drag that down here to a new track, and I'm going to call this refined, and let's put that there. So, not refined. Refined. Yeah, the refined version does have a little more kind of low-end punch to it. If you just listen to those first three notes, dun 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 dun, especially the last one, dun 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 dun, there's this kind of, that's stupid, but there's this kind of like gulpy noise at the end of the note on the refined one that I don't think is there with the unrefined one. In fact, I'm going to zoom in so that we can actually look. Around here, which is usually where you would see it, kind of on the decay of the note, when your palm hits that string, it creates that big bump. And let's listen to the not refined. Doesn't have it. How's the real amp sound? The real amp sounds more saturated, right, than the Kemper, and rounder and not as kind of defined. The pick attack doesn't come through as much. Every note on the Kemper tracks sort of has that slappy attack to it. And the real amp doesn't. So the Kemper does have the, what would you say, it has the rough frequency response of the amp, and they are very close, but I can hear a difference when it comes to those palm mutes. And if we listen to the big open chords, I'd take that. To me, I could barely hear a difference. When I just listen to it, A-B, I don't hear a difference. I don't feel a difference. That's not true for this first riff. Totally different. Really, they're totally different on that palm mute riff. So, what can we do about that? What can we do? Let's mess with the tube shape. I've moved the tube shape from 3.3 to 7.7. Let's A/B against the real amp. What I'm hearing is that pluck the note decays during the sort of minimum point of the decay. When the tube shape is higher, there's more saturation in that kind of that gulpy area. So that tube shape parameter is quite powerful. I've got it at 10 right now, which is full whack. Let's compare that to the reference. I'm still hearing differences, but it's a lot closer. That's tube shape. What about power sagging? Maybe if we change this a little bit. It's currently at 0. I'm not hearing a massive difference with that, to be honest. Maybe when things are this high in gain, it makes less of a difference. Maybe if we try reducing pick attack, maybe that'll kind of help give it the fuzzier character of the real amp. That sounds bad to me. Clarity has been at 0 the whole time. I'm going to tweak that. It just loses so much when you mess with that. I wouldn't even want it at 0. I would want it at like -5 to take away some of the clarity. So right now we are in a very familiar place. This is the place that you end up in when making a profile, and I can't speak for everyone. You never really see this with people promoting their paid for profiles. You don't really see them dialing it in and kind of struggling to make it sound like the real amp. And how would you know as a customer anyway? You wouldn't know. The Kemper sounds great, but it doesn't sound the same as these palm mutes. It really doesn't. The real amp has something extra. I like them both. They don't sound the same. So I'm going to store that profile. So this is with the clarity and the power sagging and a little bit off the pick attack. Clarity is at 0 actually. I meant tube shape. Right, let's move this down and we'll call it tube shaped, right, for now. And let's mute the DI, turn off the return, and we could just go through again quickly and A/B them one after the other. So, roundup time. Kemper, is it good? Yes, it's very good. It's amazing to be able to have this weird looking little freaky lunchbox sitting on my desk and more or less get the same tone as all of these amps, to be honest. But is it 100%? No. No, it's not. What value would I put on that? Like, how close it is? 90, 95, 99, whatever you want to pick, but it's not 100%. There's just always something a little bit lacking, especially when it comes to those palm mutes, that I find disappointing to play. Will the Quad Cortex correct that? I don't know. I haven't used one. All we've got to go on are the videos that are out there. The new Rabea Massad video was very encouraging when it came to the Quad Cortex. Last 2 points. It's something that, if you care about this amount of nuance, yes, keep a careful eye on the Quad Cortex. That's my intention. And then Kemper maybe want to consider looking into this and figuring out. I'm sure they've got to be doing it already, right? Can you get closer? Can you improve your tech? Maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't know. So if you've got any comments, if you don't like my methodology, if you think I did something wrong, put it down below. Happy to have a discussion. All of this is to improve our options, to try and help diagnose something that can maybe get fixed and make us all happy, regardless of what we use. So I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching.